I love great conversations. Hi, my name is Angel Jones. Thank you for joining me on 12-Minute Convos, where I help you create a brand of your own unique real self. Listen in as I have conversations with amazing people from all over the world. Good day, Olise Atenaga. How are you doing on this wonderful, beautiful day?
I'm doing wonderful.
It's a great pleasure to connect with you, Olise. Please do tell us, what part of the world are you in right now?
I'm in a great state of Texas, Frisco to be precise.
All right. And which of your talents is responsible for us connecting at this time?
It would be asking questions. I host a podcast called Blazes Den, and my wife and I co-founded and run a talent acquisition company called Giang Solutions, where we help entrepreneurs, business leaders, and organizations find the right talent and build their teams.
All right. And your accent, where are you from originally?
That's interesting that you asked that. Well, I was born in Nigeria. I lived a good portion of my life in England, in London, and moved to the U.S. A couple of years ago. So I've lived in a couple of places.
Yeah, in Trinidad, we have a dish called a callaloo. And it's really a mixture of multiple cultures that has brought together this thing that we call callaloo, right? Because in Trinidad, there are so many cultures. So again, but you sound like a callaloo with your accent.
Well, you can say that because obviously all the places, but I have lived, it's been a melting pot, in most of these places. It's been so diverse, and that's been such a huge part of my life, that diversity. So really thoroughly enjoyed living life that way.
Tell us a bit more about the podcast.
Well, Blazes Den is it's a podcast where I speak to trailblazing professionals who are leading the charge, launching out into the deep, taking new ground, reaching for new heights, and staying ahead of the curve. Each day, these men and women are making a difference in the lives of the people they work with, the organizations they represent, and the people they serve. And really, the conversations are all about pulling out lessons, ideas, inspirations from their journey so that we can either modify or directly apply to our own journeys and really trailblaze.
Love it. So how has that impacted your life doing this podcast?
Wow, it's been an awesome journey just having these conversations with people from different backgrounds, just hearing their stories, the inspiration. You really get to learn what makes them tick, and of course you get to glean value from their stories that you can, like I said, you can go back to your own life and make some corrections, make some additions, or just plainly discard some things when you figure out that, hey, some things aren't working, and how you can go about making a difference just hearing other people's stories. It's been a wonderful experience. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
If you didn't have any listeners, will you continue to repeat the skill of podcasting?
Absolutely.
There we go.
Because it's about the conversations. At the end of the day, the way I see it is I'm just having a conversation. It just so happens that we get to record it, or technology is involved in some shape or form. But at the end of the day, it's just having conversations and asking questions. And that's something that I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
And where's the best place for someone to connect with you, Olise?
You can connect with me either at blazesden.com. That's for the podcast. So that's blazesden, one word.com, or at giangsolutions.com, and that's GIANG solutions.com.
Oh, wonderful. What's one other thing you've done consistently over the last 3 years?
Oh, say read. I read.
How does that make you feel?
Reading. Absolutely wonderful, because for me, reading is just one of those things that, when you look at my profile on the StrengthsFinder, I don't know if you know about the StrengthsFinder. My profile, top strengths there, it's learner, input, and intellection. And, I'm just wired that way to constantly be reading. For me, it makes me feel great when I'm feeling discouraged, when I need to motivate myself, find new ideas, learn new things. I read. So that's something I've done for the last 3 years.
You spoke of your wife. Is she similar on the StrengthsFinder?
Is she what?
Is she similar on the StrengthsFinder as well?
No, she's not.
That always works out good, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, do tell us, or tell everyone that's listening, why you would suggest that they do something that is in alignment with their strengths.
Because I think that you get to provide more value for people that way, because you're working in your strengths. It's something that one may come naturally to you. It's something that you may not have to spend so much effort in terms of providing value to people and making sure that they get, really get something good from whatever it is that you're doing with them. I just feel that going not working in your strengths, it's going to take you more time. It's going to take more energy, more resources. And when we're talking about energy and resources here, just imagine if speaking wasn't your thing and you try to go and do speaking, it's going to take you a lot more than somebody who's natural at that and they've developed that skill and they're strong there. They're more in the zone. They're more passionate, more on fire than somebody else who's perhaps that's not their strength, because, they're always going to be trying to fill a gap. So I'd say, hey, working your strengths, it's always the best way to go.
Love it. Amazing audience. You're hearing it live from Olise Atenaga. Again, he is the podcast host of Blazers Den. Do check that out. Olise, let's switch gears for a moment now. Let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Olise, what is your earliest childhood memory?
I'd have to say being dropped off by my dad at what we might consider pre-kindergarten. That's my earliest memory that I can remember. It's being dropped off at pre-K.
So that's an average of 4 years old.
I'd say about 4 years old. I'd say I was around that age then.
Why do you think this memory is so clear?
One, I think because it's got my dad in the picture, and the other thing is I remember having this blue lunchbox that had a blue flask in it, and for some reason, obviously because we're going back to the earliest memory, that stayed with me this whole time. Just having that memory of that blue flask and that blue lunchbox, and again, I think when I think back to the content of the flask, it was just you usually always had warm chocolate drink and just the smell, that's always stayed with me. So that's that's my earliest memory.
Yeah, that's good. How do you see that memory connecting to who you are today?
To be honest, because it's preschool, right? It's when you start that journey of learning outside of the home. Typically that's when you start to, you get prepared for school. You start to go through the school system, so to speak. And for me as a learner, I can see that connection there, just why that's strong, because that's one area that I'm very strong at. Is I enjoy learning. I just learn a lot, read a lot. And so that would be the connection for me there. It's maybe that's why it's really clear and strong. And of course, having my dad in the picture, I watched my dad write a lot. The image that I have in my head of him is sitting on his chair and just writing. And that's another part that I'm very, very in tune in with in terms of my own life right now. So maybe that's why there's a strong connection there.
Yeah. Well, I'll add, I think you've connected the dots. I'll gently add that I think it's really fascinating that there's support for the blazer, the you, right, who is definitely the blazer in the picture, but just the support, right, the nutritional support, the transportational support, the fatherhood support. I just love those textures, if you would, that are applied to that picture that are so really necessary for a blazer, an all-out blazer, right? The support is so necessary.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you then. You just saying that now just reminded me of something, because every month on the first of the month, I get a phone call
Wow. So
And
the
that phone
support
call,
is
it's
there.
predictable. It's my dad. Every month doesn't fail. It's just, hey, checking in, just want to see how you're doing. I'm praying for you. I love you. So like you said, that support, and so that's huge.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's a blazer even more than the person that he's supporting, right? The support. So that's
Absolutely.
amazing. We'll love that. What's your father's name?
My father's Daniel.
There we go. Salute, Daniel. Well, Lisa, let's fast forward to when you were 12. What was your favorite song?
When I was 12, there's a lot of songs that I was digging back then. But if I had to choose one, I'd say Live and Learn by Joe Public.
Yeah. Well, again, it's your strength, so it's no
Right.
fascination there. Right?
It resonates, right?
They all connect. All right, my friend, well, we've arrived at our destination, but before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form, so it's yes or no, possibly a bit more. We're going to move pretty quickly here. Are you ready?
I am. Let's do it.
Well, Lisa, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
Yes,
Are you married?
I am.
Do you
Married
have...
my dream girl.
There we go, dream girl. Do you have children?
I do too.
Do you believe in God?
I do, absolutely.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Yes.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
No.
Or about 3 hours a week?
Sometimes, some weeks.
What about screen time, the phone and the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
I'd say between 8 and 10.
All right. If you had to share with us, Olise, your own unique real statement, a statement that represents who Olise Atenaga is, what would you say that is?
I'll say trailblazing is not about going where nobody else has, but it also represents going where you have never been.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love that. Olise, this has been a great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Absolutely. I'd just like to say to your amazing audience, just keep learning, keep growing, trailblaze, because life is always evolving. And one of the best ways that I know how to do that is just to be open to other people's perspectives. And I think you've done a phenomenal job with this interview series that you've, this podcast series that you've put together. It gives people an sort of an entry into other people's perspective. It's 12 minutes, but I think it's a good enough of a teaser to get you to kind of figure out, okay, I connect with this person, or I connect with what they do and what they represent and what they stand for, and make that decision to dive deeper and, like I said, just glean from other people's perspective.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Definitely. Case in point. Hammer on nail head. I love it. Olise Atenaga, thank you for being on what is inspired by 12-minute Convos with Angel Jones.
Hey, it's been my pleasure.
A pleasure I treasure. Thank you for being on 12-minute Convos with Angel Jones. Stay tuned for more from our advertisers.
Diabetes is a mountain pandemic. It's a disease that's not acute but chronic. Similar to this rhyming method, I have simplified the definition, the signs and symptoms, and the complications of diabetes for both adults and children in my books, Poems for Patients, A Focus on Diabetes, and The ABCs of Diabetes for Children. These books are available on Amazon.com, and for more information, you can visit my website, poemsbyaj.com. That's poemsbyaj.com.